topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talkboard TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, Dallas-Fort Worth. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show. This is our 13th year, and I got to tell you, our next expert, since he came on for the first time last month, and I think it was the board-certified neuropathy, that brought so much attention. We've had more people in the last 2 weeks ask us when Dr. Uselton's show was going to be coming on. Well, we have Dr. Tim, and let's welcome him.
Well, hello there. Thanks. Good morning, Steve. How are you today?
Tim, I got to tell you something, bro. This is our 13th year, and we promote you as, you're board certified neuropathy. And I got to tell you, we even got people as far as Houston contacting us wanting to know when your show is going to be coming on next. I don't mean to put all this pressure on you, but for some reason, and like I said, this is our 13th year, Tim, I have never seen a health category become this popular. People wanting to know what they can do. And so we're so lucky to have you on today. Tell us about your practice.
Okay, we're here in Carrollton, Texas, which is a suburb just north of Dallas. We have been established here since 1999, but back in 2018, I got board certified along with my providers here in the clinic to specifically treat peripheral neuropathy. It doesn't surprise me that it's such a popular topic because what most people don't understand about it is that it's really difficult to treat, and there's no one with a great answer out there on the general practitioner, the PCP side of things. They send you to a neuropathy doctor, or they send you to a neurologist, and the neurologist tests the nerves and says, yep, you got it. They still are left with no real good way to treat it. And so through my studies and my board certification, we've learned some of the causes and some of the best known treatments out there that are not just another drug or, dealing with the feet and toes as you start to lose them and amputate them. And so there's something you can do before that. And that's what we're here to talk about today. So I'm excited to be here again.
Tim, I got to tell you, this is something that you cannot ignore. I've heard about amputations before. A lot of the texts that we got were people wanting to know, how do I know if I have neuropathy? Someone would say how they have problems with balance, tingling, not only the feet, but in the fingers. But most of them wanted to know, how do you know if you might have neuropathy?
Well, we start with just a basic checklist of some of the common causes. The number one cause, of course, is diabetes. Now, why does a diabetic person get neuropathy symptoms? It's quite simply the spikes in the blood sugar over a period of time have increased the inflammation, and that inflammation has choked off the blood supply. And so when you start having, the blood supply is what delivers the oxygen and the nutrition to the tissues. And so if you cut off that nutrition and that oxygen, then we know what happens. The nerve dies. And so it's the most distal, meaning the furthest away from the heart, the source of what's pumping the blood. And so that's why you get it in your toes primarily. It doesn't skip to your knees or to your hips or to your elbows. It starts in the tips of your toes, the tips of your fingers, the very bottom of your feet, the furthest away point. That's the most common cause, but we know other causes as well are injuries to the nerve, lack of vitamin B12, certain medications can cause neuropathy. Another big, that myelin sheath that surrounds that nerve that helps it conduct that electricity, so to speak. It's like the plastic coating on the outside of the extension cord. That's around each nerve, and it's myelin. And that myelin is consisting of cholesterol. So certain medications that are lowering your cholesterol can be taken for too long or too much, and it can actually break down that cholesterol. That's a good protective coating, and now you start getting the exposure of those nerves, and that'll lead to those neuropathy symptoms. Alcoholics have a higher incidence. So again, it goes back to the inflammation and the sugar that alcohol converts to in our bodies. So certain infections, sometimes aspartame in studies has been linked to causing neuropathy. Aspartame is the artificial sweetener that's in most diet drinks or drinks that have the word zero, like Coke Zero, Pepsi Zero, those types of drinks. People are saying, yeah, but I'm not getting the sugar. Yeah, but you're getting the substitute, which may be better for calories in your body, but it's still one of the causes that we know of. And then about 40% of the customers that come into here with some sort of symptom of neuropathy, they have some sort of compression on the nerve. And the way I explain that to folks is like if you're running a garden hose out to the middle of a field to keep a tree alive, and you set a brick anywhere on that garden hose, it doesn't matter where, the end result is the tree way out there dies. And so we remove the compression on those spinal nerve roots as well. So we look for all those things. It's a multifaceted approach, but we look at nutrition. We look at the structure of the spine in and around those nerves, and we also look at the nerve health themselves. We can tell you based on the sensory loss that a person has through testing in our office that they do have it and how severe it is.
We just got a first text. This is from Jane in Plano.
Okay.
I was one of the people who has been writing you when the next show would be on neuropathy. I have problems with balance, and I'm a diabetic. Am I a candidate for neuropathy?
Absolutely. It sounds like you may already be dealing with neuropathy. And the fact that you're a diabetic, that's what most of them are. And also the fact that you're already losing your balance. Oftentimes it's not the initial numbness in a person's toe that get them to pick up the phone and call and say, I need to fix my neuropathy. It's when they've let it go so far that now they're having an issue with standing or with walking or with feeling the pedals in their vehicle underneath their feet. And a lot of times they report they can't drive because they can't tell if they're pushing the brake hard or if they're pushing the accelerator hard because they don't have that feeling. And then the worst case scenario is that they actually fall and break a hip. And then it's like, wow, you had neuropathy for how long? Well, I've had it for 8 years or 10 years, and it just started with a numbness. Well, at that point, it's kind of gotten out of control and it's too far gone. So we would like to catch people when they first start to get the numb feelings or the pain. Sometimes the symptoms coming to the brain and to tell you that you're dealing with it are more than just numbness. Sometimes you feel a sharp pain. Sometimes you feel a burning sensation. Other times it's a tingle. Other times it's I don't like to wear socks, or I don't like to put my feet under the covers in bed at night because that just irritates my feet or my legs, my calves. And those are all signs that you do have neuropathy and that you need to get it checked out sooner than later. So I appreciate the question there.
Well, we already have another one from Carrollton, Jenny in Carrollton. Thank you, Steve-O, for bringing such a great show. Would you please ask your expert if he can treat somebody? Oh, I see what they're saying. She's in Arlington and your office is in Carrollton. Do they have to come to the office?
So initially, to do the proper diagnosis and the testing, it is required. We can't do that through telemedicine or over the phone. But we do have at-home programs that allows us to treat people from much greater distances. And we've had people fly in here from Vegas. We've had people consult with us from California. We get them all over this region, throughout Texas, many cities in Texas, much, much further than Arlington. So yes, we can treat, but it makes it difficult because we do need to see you at least that first session to properly diagnose you, to make sure that what we would offer you as treatments would work for you and that you're a good candidate. Most people, the initial screen is like, yeah, I've got numbness in my feet. Well, that makes you a good candidate to get screened, to get tested. And then when we come back and say, okay, your right foot is already showing signs of 30 or 40% sensory loss, but your left one is the worst and it's showing 40 to 50 or 60 even percent sensory loss, then that kind of guides us and directs us on, do they need one or two of the things that we know that help, or do they need a half a dozen things that we know might help, because we really need to get out ahead of it before it gets bad. But that's a great question. And we do treat patients from Arlington, Grand Prairie, even as far as Fort Worth on a regular basis here in the office.
I think this is going to be a statewide show. We just got a text from somebody in Houston.
Okay, that's a ways away.
I think I might be suffering from neuropathy. If I were to fly in, how long would I need to stay in for you to treat me?
Okay, that's a great question. Like I answered just now, it's twofold. We can do treatments here in the office, and those treatments can last up to like 3 to 4 months. But the treatments that we send home with a person, they can be done daily. They can be done twice a day to get even better results, and they don't need to be here. So the initial time of being here, we could get it all done in a day for sure. We could have a morning appointment where we do the testing, and then we would put our team together in between the two visits in the same day, and then you'd come back the same day and you'd get all the results, and we could go from there. Great question.
Yeah, this this is only your second show. I'm really surprised how many texts we're already getting already. This is really an important topic, Tim. I'm so glad that we have you. What about dietary?
Dietary is huge. When it comes to neuropathy, it's almost like, you're out in the middle of a pond in your rowboat, and it springs leaks. And instead of fixing the leaks, you just go to bail in water. And you know that there's no real end in sight. The more you take on water, the more you have to bail. And that's what it is with our nutrition. When our gut's involved with all of these inflammatory changes that are happening in our body because of those causes I talked about, then you constantly are putting out fires. And that's what the medications that you get on oftentimes do. The most common medication is gabapentin. And, it's something that kind of slows down the perception of the things that we're feeling. So it's not that it cures the problem. It's not that it fixes the problem at the level of the problem. It just kind of misinterprets. It changes the way we feel about the problem, and it kind of masks it with a Band-Aid, so to speak. And so, when it comes to the metabolic health of a person, that is so important that they're getting the right nutrition. Our approach here is a three-pronged approach when we are consulting with someone. If we know they have neuropathy and we're talking about the ways we treat it, the first one is the structure. Again, if something's pinching on a nerve, no matter how nice you go out and talk to that tree in the middle of the field, or you trim away the dead branches, or even fertilize the soil around it, if you don't go back at some point and remove the brick off of the garden hose that's delivering the life force to that tree, it's still going to die. So we take the structure and we look at it. We do an x-ray typically of the spine, and we see where the misalignments are putting pressure on the nerves. And that's one thing, one of the approaches. The second approach is the nerves themselves. If they're already broken down, if they already have decreased circulation, if they already are starting to lose that protective coating of that myelin sheath made of cholesterol that I already talked about, then we do things to rebuild that, to recoat that nerve in myelin, to redistribute blood flow into that area. And so we have treatments that do that part of the equation. And then the third is the metabolic health. A person Person A and person B may look the same, may have the same symptoms, and one responds good to these first two treatments and the other one doesn't. And it's because their actual metabolic health is different. I had someone describe it like this to me one time. It's if I own a plot of land and I'm growing a harvest, and you're my neighbor, Steve, and you have a plot of land right next to me and you're growing a harvest, and we get the same amount of sunlight, we get the same amount of rain, but one of our crops is much, much higher yield. It produces a better yield than the other. Then what do we look to? We look to the soil. And if your soil is better than my soil, you're going to produce a better outcome and you're going to grow things at a healthier rate. And so we look at the person and say, are you toxic? Are you acidic? Are you an alcoholic? Do you have poor nutritional habits? And if we can correct some of those things, it's like the longer term approach. However, it's so vitally important because it's ultimately what is patching up the holes in that rowboat so that you're not continually having to bail. Eventually you get them all patched, you get your nutrition in good shape. And then that non-inflamed tissue has, probably 75% of our cases, the person is requested to make some dietary changes, add additional supplementation to their body to put out all those inflammatory conditions that are attacking the nerves. So it's a great question, and it is very important. We incorporate it into all of our treatments because it just makes a person healthier. It makes them respond better. It makes them more receptive to the rebuilding of the nerves and the blood flow to those nerves.
Okay, this text must be from one of your relatives, Tim. This is from Waco, Texas.
Okay.
They want to know, they said, first of all, you are God sent. I am going to bring my mother in. My question, though, is somebody is advertising here in Waco that laser treatments gets rid of neuropathy. Your thoughts?
Okay, so laser is one of the ways that a person can see some spikes in their, what a laser does, without getting too scientific. Inside the cell, there's the center of the cell. It's called the mitochondria, and that's where the energy gets produced in our cells in our body. And so the laser stimulates the mitochondria to kind of wake up and become alive and start to work better. So that's one of the treatments that a person can go about at kind of stimulating that new activity and that growth. Ultimately, I believe that although that's very, very helpful, and I'm not against it in any way, you got to do something that also stimulates the blood flow, because without that circulation, again, that oxygen and that nutrition is not supplied to the tissue. And that's when anybody who's had an amputated toe, worst case scenario, they're losing their toes. It's because the tissue has died, because blood flow to the nerve has been diminished. And so if we can stimulate that blood flow, and I'm not exactly sure how the laser will stimulate the blood flow. I know that it works on the cellular level at the mitochondria, but that's a great question. I appreciate there's somebody in Waco that's attempting, because there is just no real good answer to it otherwise without these types of things that we talk about.
Tim, it just seems like there's so many people that are suffering with neuropathy. And I think there's a lot of doctors out there that do not know how to treat it. And that's what's so wonderful about your show. What about, do you recommend any kind of supplements at all?
Sure. The supplements that we recommend, I can give you just a basic list, but the right B vitamins are crucial to nerve health. We use vitamin B1, vitamin B6, and of course vitamin B12, because that's one of the causes, deficiency of B12. We use alpha lipoic acid. A new study came out about alpha lipoic acid when taken orally in the right doses, which is actually a higher dose than the bottle recommends when you're trying to reverse something like neuropathy. In up to 35% of the cases, they experience a change for the better in their neuropathy symptoms within the first 4 weeks of taking it. So it's a supplement you can buy. It's not very expensive. We have high quality products that we offer here, but alpha lipoic acid is one of those for sure. There's acetyl L-carnitine, omega-3 fatty acids, magnesium, curcumin, N-acetylcysteine, coenzyme Q10 like CoQ10, vitamin D, and then gamma linoleic acid. And those are kind of a basic list in the proper order. I would start with the lowest hanging fruit, which would be the Bs and the alpha lipoic acids. But some people, they get a little tick up in feeling better, and they want to know how to really go at this nutritionally. And so I would say those are a good place to start. Again, when you start really changing the nutrition inside the body, you're giving it what it needs, kind of like those raw materials to make the cake. You can't kind of leave out a few of them and hope to get a good cake out of it. If you don't put in the baking powder, or if you don't put in the right flour, then you get a flat cake, or you get a cake that doesn't have the right flavor or consistency. So yeah, those are all important to nerve health. And it's a great place to start if someone wanted to kind of just start going about it on their own. And, they've been to the medical doctor, and the medical doctor has said, well, you have neuropathy. There's no good cure for that. Try this gabapentin, and they give you a prescription. And then it starts to have all these side effects, and you start feeling these other things going on. It's like, what else could I do? Then this is definitely a great place to start nutrition. And, these days with the internet, you can just get on and Google, what are the best supplements that a person with neuropathy should be taking. And most search engines will bring you to a list similar to this.
Tim, what other areas do you treat?
We treat, we started, way back in the day in 1999 when I first opened, and we were treating back pain. We were treating people after they had been injured in a car accident, like with a whiplash. So that's kind of the basis for where we started over 25 years ago. And since then, we've kind of gone into this neuropathy space, but we also are heavy into the disc damaged space, which we use non-surgical spinal decompression therapy. Oftentimes, like I mentioned, about 40% of our customers that have a neuropathy symptom, they also have a compressive type situation going on. So there's a pinch on the nerve in addition to lack of blood flow to the nerve at the end. And so we treat the nerves and the neuropathy patients with the decompression patient the treatment protocol as well. We do some IV nutrition therapy, which is where a person comes in and we can figure out where their deficits are, if they're low in D3 or B12 or magnesium. We do lab testing on the front end. That allows us then to put together a complete package. And then when we put it into an IV and drip it directly into the body that way, you get a 99+% absorption rate. So the pills are great, the supplements are great, but you're getting 60 to 80% of what you think you're getting. And in the IV, you're nearly getting 100% of exactly what it is. And it's immediate. You feel it in your bloodstream while you're on the chair getting it done. So we do that. We, here lately, it seems like we've been getting a lot of post-surgical rehab patients in the office because we have a full-scale physical medicine clinic that we operate in the same building. So we've had probably 2 or 3 post-surgical knees on patients that have shown up this week saying, I need PT because the doc went in and cleaned out my meniscus, or I got total knee replacement, or I had an infection and now I need to rehab the joint. And so we do the post-surgical rehab here as well. So it's not a one-stop shop. We can't see every condition, but we do see a lot of different patients.
Tim, give everybody your phone number and your website for the people who are listening on radio right now or the podcast.
You bet. Our number here at the office is 972-478-5538. Again, that's 972-478-5538. The website is just the name of our clinic. It's called TrinityIntegratedMedical.com. That's TrinityIntegratedMedical.com. Trinity Integrated Medical. You can visit there. You can contact us with a form on our website. You can call the office directly and speak with one of our staff members. We're here to help. We're here to answer your questions. We're here to get you scheduled for a test to see if anything we can do might help you. If you're kind of sick and tired of being sick and tired, we have treatments now for that with our IV nutrition, helps with fatigue. And so it's super exciting that we get to see the difficult cases. And then when we see them get results that they hadn't gotten, and they're pleasantly surprised because they've kind of given up hope, it just makes our day.
Tim will be back again with us next month. We will let you know the date of his next show. Thank you for all the people who took the time to text us. Tim, thank you so much. We'll see you next month.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And that's going to be it for us today. We'll be back again with you next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.